And
Hey, everybody! Welcome to the land of the queens, so to speak. Uh, this is Live to Roll's podcast, of course, and we are discussing the Ms. Wheelchair America experience. And I have been asked to describe myself. So I am Miss Wheelchair California from last year, 2024, sitting here in my crown and my sash with blue eyes, long curly brown hair. And let's go around the room. Christine, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Christine Burke. I was Miss Wheelchair California 2020 and Miss Wheelchair America 2022, otherwise known as the COVID Queen. I am a white woman in my 30s. I've got long brownish hair. I'm sitting here in my sash and crown that I literally just pulled out 45 seconds ago on that, and really excited to be here.
Awesome. Yes. And then I am Allie. I am a white woman with very short black curly hair. I've got my crown and sash on. I'm in a spaghetti strap little dress and a gray background, but I am Miss Wheelchair California 2025 and I'm super excited to be here. I have like the darkest screen ever. I'm so sorry. I cannot figure out what's going on with my lighting, but that's what we got today.
She's in witness protection, actually, but we'll let her. We'll get this out to the public.
It goes with your
Before
like.
we dive into
Right.
the ins and outs of the Miss Wheelchair America cohort, let me thank our sponsors because we wouldn't be here without them. Mobility professionals and urology professionals. They are your friends when in this disability community. Mobility professionals has been around a long time. They do all DME and they are very experienced and very knowledgeable. Urology professionals, the secret is same folks, but they can take care of all of your urology needs, catheters, all that kind of stuff. So thank you, mobility professionals and urology professionals, for supporting Live to Roll and all of our podcasts. So let's dive in. My first question to the queens here is, what made you want to run for Miss Wheelchair? I was going to say, why on earth would you want to do this?
I would say you have to say yours first because mine is just like I cannot lead.
Me?
All
Okay,
right.
so you want to go first?
No,
I'll go
you
first.
Me
No,
first?
let me
Okay.
go first because it involves Christine.
Okay.
So I was just trucking along, being myself, and doing Justin Graham's WOW exercise class. And as we were wont to do, we happened to be gabbing, and Christine goes, "I'm just so worried about the Miss Wheelchair California pageant." Why? What's wrong? Well, we only had two women running, and one of them just dropped out. And we can't do a pageant with just one person. And I went, let me see what I can do. I know so many people in wheelchairs. I'm sure I can hunt somebody up. So I went around asking women, why don't you just compete to be Miss Wheelchair California? You don't have to get into a bikini. It's not about what you look like. It's all about advocacy. What are you passionate about? And I would say 90 out of 100 people said, well, why aren't you doing it? And I went, I'm too busy. Nope. I'm too old. Nope. So long story short, I did end up competing. I did end up winning, and I wrote an article about it for the Abilities Expo, saying the most wonderful year I nearly missed. So thank God I actually did this, and it is all Christine's fault.
Guilty. I will happily go to jail for that. So I was involved with an organization. It's a nonprofit called the Peter Pan Foundation, and it's a musical theater. They do this fun Disney show, and the all the proceeds go to Children's Hospital Oakland. And I was really good friends with the founder and some of the other people, and she came up to me and said, "Hey, so we were just asked to perform at this thing called Miss Wheelchair California." And I was like, Okay, so this is like my biggest pet peeve, you know, when people are like, "Oh, that's a thing, that's a thing." I'm like, "Yes, of course it's a thing." Um, but I started out as one of those people who didn't know it was a thing. And I was like, it's advocacy, it's performance, it's like, you know, right in my backyard. So I was like, let's see what this is all about. I got to meet that year, the one of the judges was Jen Kumiyama, who was one of my like role models. I was like, oh my god, I get to meet the girl who was in the Aladdin show. Like I was just freaking out. And so I got really excited, and I remember once we had performed and we were watching, you know, people giving their speeches, and I started texting the founder kind of end of the day and was like, I'm going to do this next year. Miss Wheelchair California 2020, representation of people with disabilities in the media. Boom. And I manifested it, and I made it so the next year. And then two days after, or 2 weeks after, the world went into lockdown. But take that what you know will on that. But I don't regret a single second of it.
And you were reigning for a total of 3 years, right? Because you were 2 years state and one national, or how did that work?
Yes, because 2021 basically didn't exist, so everybody's reigns were either extended if they wanted, or had other competitions. I don't really remember, but everything was virtual. I just saw that we were joined by this year's Miss Wheelchair California or Miss Wheelchair America. Um, Tam is on the line, so hey, shout out
Hey,
on
Dan.
that.
Hey,
Um,
Tam!
and so yeah, so I was like, yeah, sure, you know, but figuring out what to do, that might be a further question. I don't want to dominate the conversation.
No, you're totally fine.
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
that like this conversation is just going where it goes, but I feel like I'll just say how I fell into this because that's pretty much what it was. I fell fell into it. I went to Rolette's experience last year. I was homeless of all things, living out of my tiny, teeny RV with me and my fiance. And I mean, I'm the type of person. So, like, I've done a lot of booths. I've run booths in my life with my mom and the endeavors she's done. And I also ran a business at one point, a small business that just did like craft fairs. So when I go to anything that has little booths, I try to go up to everyone, hear about what they're doing, because I understand how hard it is to get people to like just walk in the door, right? Or come into your space and learn about what you're trying to teach them about. And so I went up and I swear to you, I promise this on my life that Angela asked me to join a mailing list. I did not realize I was signing up to compete. So I signed up completely on accident and I didn't know what I was doing until I got an Instagram message or an email. I just happened to check my email, which if anyone knew me before this experience, you know, I absolutely loathe email. I hate it. I have to do it now, of course. But I just happened to check my email sitting at my mom's house on the floor, and I was like, huh, I don't remember signing up for this. This is weird. It's probably a scam. And I just was like so adamant that I was being scammed. It's like, I did not sign up for this. What is this congratulations email? And so
that's
I
the way
ended up
we
being
get
like,
you, baby. That's the way we
right?
win you.
Man, they sucked me at real being real good. But Angela was the one messaging me. I said, "Hey, would you mind getting on like a call with me?" Because I was like so skeptical. I was in disbelief that it was real, and I also didn't really know what the foundation was anyway. So talk about like not knowing, Christina. I also had no clue this existed or it was a thing. So I hopped on a call, and the first red flag for me was that it was 100% in your chair outside of your home. And I said, okay, well, that is true where I do need to be in my chair 100% outside of the home, but I don't really have a chair that functions well. So there's times where it's like, you know, how do I do that? Just, well, you know, if it's a necessity for you, that's good enough for us. If it's just the medical system that's getting in your way and societal issues and accessibility getting in your way, that doesn't count. If you are technically supposed to be a wheelchair user 100% outside of your home, you may compete. Don't worry about it. And I was still skeptical, but after much conversation with her and much convincing, I ended up just going full force. And I am the type of person that doesn't do anything small. So I remember getting on a meeting with her and she was like, "How are you doing with your trifold board? Like, that's a big part of the competition." And I was like, "Oh, here you go." And I showed it to her. And I remember her just going, "Oh my God, oh my gosh, oh my God, what is that? Oh my gosh, that's so crazy." Just like, went all
Sounds
out, of
cool.
course. I don't know any tone other than that. So yeah, I don't know. It's been kind of a crazy experience so far. I've not been in my reign very long, but I think I just calculated it, and I've done over 35 appearances over in person and virtual within 60 days. I think we're at 60 days. I don't know what we're
That's
at.
insane. That's
Something.
amazing.
I've
Yeah,
done
we are.
19 speeches. I did 19 speeches in one day. But over the course of that event, I had done 29 within the 2 days. I was there at an elementary school in Southern California. I'm supposed to be going skydiving and scuba diving this year. I'm traveling to, I've already traveled out of state once, but I'm going to Oregon and Washington. I've already been to Nevada. And that's all, of course, all with approval from the states that have programs there. But I mean, it's just, I am I am this type of person. Like, I am the crazy girl that goes and does everything. I always have been. So everyone's worried about me saying like, "Oh, well, you need to slow down. It's a long year." And I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm trying to fill it up. I'm trying to touch as many people as I can, get as many people involved as I can, and really spread the word, because I can't believe that this program's been around since the 70s and nobody knows what it is. Like that concept, right? Of like Christine, you saying like you didn't know what it was, and like it's a
Hmm.
pet peeve. Well, I mean, it's just crazy. Nobody knows it exists. And like that's what I've set out my mission like behind my platform, is to just absolutely change that and rock the world of this nonprofit, because it can help so many more people.
Hmm.
Well, you have a platform about just about anything you're passionate about, right? But Allie, what tell people what your platform is?
So my platform that I presented for the competition is called Access to Adventure. And the reason I picked that is whenever I was told, okay, you have to pick a platform, I really didn't even understand what the heck that meant. I was not a pageant girly. And while this isn't a pageant, it is still based off of that a little bit. And so I started thinking to myself, well, I could do dance. I'm a professional dancer, and I have been dancing from my wheelchair for quite a while, and dancing professionally for over 10 years. And I was really set on that for a while. And then I thought to myself, well, what is it that I want to do for the rest of my life? And what is it that I wish I could share with people who are disabled that I didn't know a year ago? And that was things like Triumph Foundation and Life Rolls On, and all of these programs that have these adaptive sports and experiences. But more than that, the programs that are not adaptive, that will adapt to you and your needs. So things like skydiving, things like indoor skydiving, like iFly, whom I am partnering with. Plug.
Good.
Um,
I didn't know if
and
you'd seen it yet.
oh yeah, we're already way in on that. So I'm actually doing a giveaway soon. So we'll talk about that another time. So anyways, yeah, it's just anything adventure based. I'm going scuba diving next month as well. Talking a lot about travel, hotels, things that whenever you are a disabled person, newly or not, and you're thinking about going out to do whatever your adventure may be, even if that's just a trip to the lake or the beach, what roadblocks are getting in your way, and how can we eliminate those? How can we make them easier? How can we, hurdle them in a way that's not going to be more work for us as disabled individuals? Because that's exhausting. It's what we always have to do, and it's the normal, but it shouldn't be anymore. So yeah, my platform is called Access to Adventure. I have my Instagram that is tracking all of it. I post on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and YouTube, I think, as well, also every single day. And I'm also doing a docu series. I'm like being featured in a documentary series about my reign this year, and just about Miss Wheelchair America as a whole. So that was just approved, and I'm like super excited about doing that.
I love an overachiever.
Yeah, I don't know how to do anything other than that. So
I wanted to tell you guys, if you haven't heard of them, I just stumbled across the Sabrina Cohen Foundation. They're in Florida, so you might want to connect with Miss Florida there. But
I know her.
their whole gig is get people in wheelchairs out on the beaches, and they are so coordinated with the people who do the mobility tracks and the wheelchairs that'll go on the beach. But what do we call those things? Oh,
They're the
Access Rec. It's the Access Beach Mess.
mhm.
So the Fort Lauderdale Expo is in October. So I thought, ooh, beach time in October. Want to
I'll
come?
go. Don't test me. I will fly. I
There's
love it.
well,
Pick
there's
me.
BORP, the Bay Area Outreach and Recreation Program up here in the Bay Area. I played wheelchair sports with them. I think it may have been the same company, but I want to say it was like Easy Track or something like that. But they do very very different beaches up in the Bay
Yeah,
Area, but they
yeah.
have the same. So if you can't make it out to Florida, you
What
can.
if I just did both? What if I like please
Yeah,
everyone and I
exactly. Yeah,
overachieve and like do all the
might not
things?
go.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the other
I
thing. Like, the reality of why I picked my platform is because now I get to go do all these adventures. Why would I not pick this platform
Yeah.
Not that it's self-serving at all.
at all? No, couldn't possibly be.
So part of
No.
the message I know all three of us are passionate about is getting more people aware of the Miss Wheelchair America competition and getting more women to go forward and do this because for me, one of the most extraordinary experiences of my very extraordinary life. I've done a lot of really cool shit, man. And this is right near the top this year as Miss Wheelchair California, and especially going to nationals. Now, Allie hasn't been there yet.
Oof.
Christine's been there 3 times. Yeah.
Twice. Only twice.
Tell us about the national competition, will you, Christine?
It was incredible. So like I said, my year when they were figuring out what this COVID thing was going to do, um, they thought that maybe, if things look better, we could do something in person. And that's why we weren't sure if 2021 was going to exist or not. And when they figured out, okay, maybe, we're not going to be able to do that, um, it ended up being a virtual competition. So I'm sitting in my living room, actually on the table I'm at right now, but in a different room, in a formal gown and my, parents off to the side and my animals roaming around and it was very kind of surreal. Um, still we all kind of remember that COVID, the first few days of COVID, right? And then we tried to have some meetups and talks and whatnot, but long story short is I ended up not really formulating as many close friendships with my year, a couple exceptions, but um, so then came time to crown the class of 2023, and I did get to do that in person, and it was unlike anything I've ever. And I played wheelchair sports when I was 10, so I was navigating airports, I was going cross country, different venues and whatnot. So I'd been out in the world, but this experience, I mean, number one, it's at this really really nice hotel in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Um, it's like half of it is like this beautiful old Hollywood kind of feel. All they have the largest amount of accessible rooms, um, with varying degrees, but any disabled person traveling knows like that's like number one, right? So 20, I think there were like 23 rooms or something that they allot for that. So anyway, sorry, I couldn't get over that. Um, but then I met the girls, and it really is a sisterhood. And I know that sounds so, you know, cliche and whatnot, but the number of people who uh, connected, who maybe this was their first time flying, their first time really getting in the same room with people who also looked somewhat like them.
Mm-hmm.
um, was so empowering. And I I had so many friendships that I made that week. I wanted to get the whole nationals experience that I didn't get the year before. It was like the least high stakes thing because all I was doing was passing out the crown. So, I got to go to different workshops. We went, I think, that year to were we at the gardens?
Gardens were great. The
Yeah,
sculpture gardens
I
is
think
where
that
we
was
went.
the second year. I think that was the second year, but second time I went. But we went. Oh no, we went to the Ford Museum, um, and got to kind of just tour around downtown Grand Rapids, and I hadn't been to Michigan before, so that was kind of cool too, and just be surrounded in empowerment.
And they keep you busy, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like I
You're
didn't have to
going
be at everything,
morning
but
to night.
yeah, it was definitely a packed schedule. And so then the next year, the queen that I crowned, uh, my successor, whatever you call her, she wasn't able to make it to nationals that year, and they really wanted a someone who had had the title to be there to, kind of show queens kind of not just what, you know, it wasn't like dangling a carrot, like, oh, this is what you're competing for, but to just kind of have that extra sense of community and this is what the platform's about, right? Someone who had been there. And so with literally, I think 5 days notice, I got on a plane uh, to to Michigan and was like, Mary called me. She was like, these queens really need a someone to
Almost like a role
pass
model,
the
right? Like
crown on."
someone who's been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I got on that plane with my friend Christy Durso, who was Miss Wheelchair Texas 2023. I met her and she became like one of my like closest friends.
She's
We
amazing.
went we went to Alaska together. That was one of cruise to Alaska. It was amazing, amazing. She does accessible travel um, on that, so y'all should connect at some point.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. You have no idea. The
oh yeah,
struggle is
and
real.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, and I'm like good friends with like her entire family. Um, yeah, all that. So she came with me cross country, and we she took one of my favorite memories from that trip was she took a picture of me. I was exhausted, like the letdown. So I got the call actually when I was moderating a panel at a book convention in LA and on disability and romance. And so I'd come off of that, literally was home for like 2 days and then had to pack and then was on an airplane. So I was exhausted. And getting the crown on the national crown, you have to have a million bobby pins. Your head is not fit for like a human head. It's like there's parts that like what is this supposed to attach to? I mean, contrary to popular belief, I don't have horns sticking up. Or if I do, like they're very well hidden. And so I had a million bobby pins. So taking it on and off was annoying. So I had my crown on, and I just passed out in bed in my crown dash. I'm just like lying on the bed, and she snuck a picture with me, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Those are the memories that you keep forever, man. That's something you're
oh,
never
I
gonna
know." Yeah, but that was such a fun trip. That was a really fun trip
Well,
on
one of the
that.
smartest things I think our year did was we made and have kept a text chain for all the women who were there, which I think comes to about 19 of us, something like that. And so we have stayed in touch. So that's how in order to do this, I could just send out a single text, say, hey, who's available? This is what we're doing. And if you can be on, be on. And if you can't, at least watch it. Like, hello, Shanta. So It's been great, and I have recommended that to the movers and shakers of the national organization. Is how many years you've been doing this? 50 years. Where are all the other title holders, and how are they in touch with each
Hmm.
other? Because now in my year, there was at the actual presentations, there was one table of women wearing crowns, women older than I. So somehow the title holders, at least in the area, were invited to the presentation, but
That's
I didn't hear peep from them.
hmm.
You know
So
what I think we should do is we should use this right now in this moment to make a movement to say we need to have Miss Wheelchair America's board vote on having a reunion next year.
Ooh, that would be
I'll
so
fund it.
fun.
I'll get it
let's
funded. Don't test me.
give me some place where you can get a direct flight, not Grand Rapids.
Do LA. We have the access to the building, right? Why not use, we can use even the same space that Rolette's uses. I mean, that's a beautiful hotel and they already are equipped to handle that many wheelchair users. Let's make it happen.
Yeah,
Adjacent to the Abilities Expo.
there you go.
Yeah.
High
Sponsored by
five.
Abilities Expo if you're watching this.
Yeah, but we need a database, and
Well, and
we need people like Allie to
mhm,
record her contacts and pass them along to the next title holder,
Which is
so
already
that
happening, which is super exciting. And I'm glad that you mentioned it because these are the things that I wish would have been transparent. And I'm not saying that this is on anybody, right? This is an organization that is run by all disabled women that have jobs and have lives and have families, and they're doing everything that they can. I just happen to be someone who comes from all of these different worlds by complete happenstance. And I want to be able to use the knowledge that I have from all these past experiences and kind of tie it together in a big fancy bow and say, okay, well, let's pull all of these pieces together that we've had for years and create a resource list for every title holder to come. And, if anyone happens to see this podcast at any point in time and you do want to help the mission that we are trying to push forward here, funding is another major issue. And issue is a vague term, but my goal is to leave such a legacy behind for California and America that for the next 2 or 3 years, we don't have to worry about funding. So that maybe we can match the funding of the title holder so that they have more opportunity to get out and advocate. Because the biggest holdup for people isn't actually being disabled to get out and do all of these events. The holdup is being able to have the opportunity via funding. We are already fighting hard enough to, equal access for medical needs and just basic needs in day-to-day life, to also then say, okay, I'm going to go and pickpocket through my change coin purse and say, I guess I can give this to going and doing this thing. Like, it's becoming a very exhausting initiative for each and every title holder, I'm sure, before me and after me. So my goal is to have $200,000 put away in a fund for the next girl and the girl after that, because if we didn't have to worry about fundraising, the things that the girls would have completed is, I mean, I can only imagine, right? I mean, I've dumped over $5,000 of my own money into this, and
mhm.
even if I never see that again, I really just don't care because I know that it's going to help the next person and the person following. This is just what it's about for me. And I'm also someone who's like painfully about transparency, and that might just be my generation. I'm sure that like some people watching this are like, "Oh my god, she's saying numbers." Like, who cares? Like, this is the truth. This is the raw, unfiltered data of what it takes to make these things happen, and that's just the reality. That, and I don't know, a generous donation of a van. Thank you, thank you, Miss Wheelchair California 2024. Because without that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But like, these hard conversations where we have to say, well, what does it take to make these things happen? Unfortunately, it's money.
it takes money. I
And
don't think most people understand that there's no money that comes with the title.
no,
They
no,
wonderful. You have the honor of being Miss
Disability.
Wheelchair in the state. Now you have to figure out how you're going to get to nationals, how you're going to raise money to get to nationals, to get a dress, to travel, to whatever. This is
exactly.
not
While
the
also advocating and following your contract, right? So like, it's minimum 2 public appearances per month. But the reason, and I've had a lot of people ask me this, why are you doing so much? Well, the reason I've done 60, or was it, sorry, 35 events or appearances within 60 days is because I want to prove that it's possible. And in order to do that, I didn't have time to set up and plan all of these fundraisers and, big sales and whatever, because I'm trying to create the actual lasting impact. And when someone says, hey, this event's coming up, can you attend? My answer sure as hell is not going to be no, I don't have the money. Like, I want to make sure that we can show this is what is possible if we did have that money. And I'm not at all saying every disabled person or every person who uses a wheelchair is going to be able to keep up the stamina that I am, because it's a little psychotic. But
Disability is
it is possible. Yeah, girl, it's a full-time job.
it really is, and I don't think
It's a
people
full-time
realize
job.
the detail, and then the visibility too. So I really just sort of am in awe and envy, being the COVID queen. I didn't really go places. I was COVID queen, and then I also got my very first pressure sore halfway
Oh,
through my
well, I
run,
mean,
so I couldn't go anywhere.
what a place to say it on air, but I mean, it's not paid, but if at any point you want to travel and come do the things that I'm doing, I think that that's what this is all about, right? It's not about my time to shine. This is about creating more change throughout California. And if you want to continue doing what you're doing with that crown, then please, by all means, come attend these events with me. Wear your crown, wear your sash. Like, the rule is that you're not supposed to. And I say be gone with that rule, because how else are we going to spread the word about this without word of mouth, without people having something to ask the question from, right? Because these things are how people go, wait, what is that? So,
Exactly.
I mean, both of you keep doing what you're doing. And if at any point, seriously, you want to come along for the ride, just let me know and I'll start pulling you along.
Now you also
Okay.
have a Miss Junior,
Yeah,
Miss Wheelchair,
Oh
right?
my gosh, don't even get me started about that absolute angel. Yeah, I have a junior and a
amazing.
little. I have a junior and a little. Little Miss I happened to meet, I think, 2.5 weeks before she got crowned at a rugby event in Santa Barbara. And she lives not too far from there. But then, yeah, junior Miss Wheelchair is Rachel Faulkner. I think she is a junior roulette. And that happened to just fall in line with the competition. Like, it was just happened to be at the same exact time. So she's been very occupied with that. And she's also doing a study abroad program. So she's going to be taking a couple, pictures here and there while she's overseas. But I mean, that girl's schedule is just so busy, and her life just consists of advocacy, that she was absolutely deserving of that crown and sash. And I mean, I have to say, of course, yeah, she is one of my best friends, but I think we clicked the way that we did because we both have such a passionate personality for advocacy. So, yeah, she's absolutely amazing. She is, the ripe age of 20 years old, and the advocacy she has under her belt is an amount most people, can never say that they've ever had. So, yeah, super proud of her and what she's doing. And her platform was oh, I'm totally blanking, but it was basically just having like the legal knowledge to advocate for yourself as a disabled person. And she did an amazing job presenting that with her trifold board. And yeah, she's absolutely amazing.
Now she can run for Miss Wheelchair California next year, right? Because she turns 21.
Yes,
So I
Yes.
and
believe,
through the rumor mill, I hear that she's on track to do that. She absolutely wants to compete, but that, of course, just depends on what life throws at her in the next several months. Because, I mean, like, obviously, she's got lots of promising opportunity, and she basically has said whenever it lands in her life, she will compete at some time, but whether it's next year or not. So, yeah.
yeah, 'cause she also has law school looming, right?
Yeah, she's in pre-law right now. I mean, this girl is
That's
like
incredible.
absolutely amazing. She has an extreme passion for your rights when you're traveling. So she's the first person I call, like, as a 28-year-old woman at the time she was 19. Here I am in an airport, not knowing a damn thing about taking my chair on an airplane. I'm like, Rachel, can you please tell me what to say to this woman? I don't know what she's saying. And she was like, just hold the phone up, don't put it down, and I can hear what she's saying. And so she was just like the little voice in the back of my head being like, say this, say that, say this, say that. Don't let them do this, XYZ. And she's beyond knowledgeable. She is currently fighting a case. And of course, there's not much I can say about like cases she's fighting, but she's currently fighting a case with an airline that tried to test her knowledge and she proved them wrong on a level I never thought imaginable. Like employees of the airline were breaking laws, and she was like, I can show you the law if you'd like, and like highlighted it, sent it to them, and she was like, let's play. Like if you think that you want to walk all over disabled people, like that's not going to happen with me. And she's changing the game for sure.
Shantae, we need to get you and Rachel hooked up here. Shantae
I was
had
saying, Christy knows.
hell back home from nationals that year. Shantae they put her through hell. So
Oh,
we need to connect Shantae and Rachel at some point.
Absolutely.
Have
I
we
think,
told the viewers what's our reason for using a wheelchair? Well, because I can't walk. So that would be my first. Sorry, Mickey.
because I can't walk.
Just
I
light another
mean,
part, I said.
Because
yeah,
it looks so
Christine.
cool.
Christine, tell your reason because mine is so long.
I I was born. The end. I don't have a cool story. I was spina bifida, which I always end up tripping over saying, even more so with my Invisalign. So if you hear me lisp, but that's why. The sexiest of the names out there, and yeah, I used to walk with braces and crutches, and then backpacks got really heavy. Um, and it was more freeing and independent, starting to use my chair more. I could go shopping with my friends at the mall and carry my coffee at the same time and not want to just pass out in 5 minutes in. Um, I do
So are you
remember that.
still at this point ambulatory, or are you someone who is in? Do you require your chair for daily function in your home, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I have AFOs, lower orthotics for people, and crutches, and I'll walk around the house. Okay, it's been a minute since I have, but I can stand. I had a standing frame. My mom is a physical therapist. She's known she's
That's
wanted to be.
convenient.
That's what everybody says. She has a very distinct memory of me when I was maybe 7, and all her other PT friends were, like, waiting and ready to assist me into the van, and I was about to step up, and I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, I can do this. It's fine. You need to not have friends who are all physical therapists. Go find friends who aren't physical therapists." She had other friends who weren't physical therapists. But uh, yeah, that was oof. My mom deserves the humanitarian award for putting up with sassy. Everyone's like, "Oh, is it because you were disabled?" No, it was because
That
I
came
needed to
that
be the
came free
center
of
of
charge.
attention.
Yeah.
Oh, it was I would have either ended up wearing orange or white if I had to put up with me growing up. There's videos out there, video evidence of oof. Anyway, I would escape in I'd literally run away in malls on my braces and crutches. And when the mall cops would catch me on their Segway, I'd tell them that my name was Sally and I was 4.5 years old. I was 2, and people believed me.
I love that for you, girl. Get
Yeah,
him. You really
yeah.
just a go getter from birth. You know what I
I
mean?
you know, I Disneyland, I was in the my mom took me into the bathroom because, if you don't, child abuse. Um, but it's like one of those things, catch 22, you can't win. So she takes me in there. I didn't want to be in there, and I let everybody know I didn't want to be there by screaming, "Don't touch me, you're hurting me. I don't want to be here. Why are you doing this?" And you come out with this adorable blonde girl in a wheelchair in
I love
Disneyland.
because my mom is for sure gonna watch this later. I told her I was recording. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'll watch it." She's watched many of things I've been a part of, whether she regretted it or not. And I know for a fact she's gonna go and watch it and see me say, "You're welcome," for not being, that much of a tyrant.
For not being
Oh
No, I
yeah,
was
persuaded.
oh
totally
yeah,
a tyrant. I was
yeah.
totally a tyrant, and I did not have mobility aids either. I just now looking back, if you would have looked at my body as a kid, I mean, I've posted it all over the internet, and I've had so many responses to it. Girl, I sure did look disabled, but nobody
Bendy.
knew because I grew up in a I grew up I have a fairly, I'll call it a colorful childhood because that seems most PC. But because of that, professionals in the medical field just kept saying, it's anxiety, it's depression, it's her acting out, looking for attention, XYZ. And those things all made sense. So I don't even have any sour feelings about how that happened, but it does explain a lot about my childhood of why I felt the way that I did, why I was in so much pain. And I was just constantly told, suck it up, kid, keep going, push forward, walk it off. And it was all because of the genetic conditions that I do have. So I use a wheelchair for several reasons. I got my wheelchair initially to assist with healing and long distances, and that was going to be it. Because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, the works, if you know what that is. If not, give her a quick Google, and I promise you'll have so much information, it'll be coming out of your ears. But basically, I have what's called unspecified Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So geneticists look at my file and they go, that's weird. So I hold the marker and I'm a carrier for dermatose paraxis Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which if you don't know what that is, it is the pug syndrome or the saggy skin that you see. There's a Asian gal who's in a few magazines, and she has this immense drooping, sagging skin, even though she was extremely young. I obviously do not have that, but I do have the marker for it, so my skin is very gelatinous. But I also have the marker for brittle cornea syndrome, which is a different type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, type 7, which is another type, and I also have I don't remember, what is it, kyphoscoliosis type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So it's a long list of markers that I hold, and then I also have the Marfan's marker. I can pass that on, if you will. But then I also just found out I hold a few different, these aren't markers I actually have, and I'm supposed to be seeing a geneticist soon, but I have a very rare form of muscular dystrophy. And I didn't know this up until 2 days ago. And it should actually be presenting the complete opposite that my body is. And it makes a lot of sense looking back now. It's called the stiff spine syndrome is another word for it. But basically, I should have much more contractures in my muscles and withering away and things like that than I do. And about 4 years ago, I had just if I held my calf up, just a tiny knot hanging with just skin. I had just withered away to nothing. And they couldn't figure out why. So I just busted my booty and went back, and it hurt like hell. But I spent a year training back in dance classes until I gained my muscle again. So I started doing wheelchair dance. And so it's looking like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and all of the things I have going on there mixed with the muscular dystrophy are just kind of playing tug of war in my DNA and fighting back and forth on am I stretchy? Am I tight? What is happening? So it's super confusing and hard to explain why do I have my chair, but I also got the lovely, lucky winner chicken dinner of a cherry on top, and I experienced a TBI last year. I'm coming up on my year in June, and that's left me with a lot of different coordination issues. I was someone who was very, very balanced and coordinated for most of my life, and then all of a sudden I close my eyes and I can't tell you where up is. It caused me to go viral on the internet for eating absolute shit out of my chair, and it's caused a lot of other balance problems. So, I mean, it's just a multitude of problems, but when I wake up in the morning, my physical therapist used to tell me, you get to wake up, reach in a bag, and pull out 5 main symptoms. The other ones in the bag are all there. You just, they're not as present. Those 5 main symptoms are going to be different every single day for you. And it was a hard pill to swallow because people do not treat individuals with dynamic disabilities with kindness. It is a constant hurdle of trying to prove myself. Am I disabled enough? Am I able-bodied enough? Am I blank enough? And it's just frustrating because no matter what I do, no one's going to believe me, right? I mean, I'm not going to get everyone to believe me is what I mean. So yeah, I kind of just let that go, and now I just live my life for me and also for the people that come to me and say, thank you for posting your story online. It's really helped me live vicariously through you, or it's really encouraged me to get out there and do more things with my mobility aids because I'm not as afraid anymore. So that's what drives me. But Yeah, I need the chair for quite a few reasons, but I definitely, my legs work. They just don't work well.
Well, Nicole has posted what's going on with her, and if you combine all three of us, because Nicole, I have transverse myelitis. That's what paralyzed me, and none of these things are extremely common. But put this trio together, and we have Nicole. So I
Oh,
think you're right, Allie. Just by speaking about it and then giving the silent example of how you live your life, I think it makes a big difference. I mean, go back to when you were first in this situation, and if you feel alone, and then you see other people who, gosh, you're like me, makes you feel better. Circling back around, and that's part of the reason for Miss Wheelchair America, right? To get
Oh, yeah.
up out there and have other people see, whoa, if they can do this. One of the things that really impressed me in the nationals is just seeing the variety of disabilities and so many more challenges than I ever thought of having. And yet there they are, totally kicking ass. So I was
disability
impressed.
is not a monolith,
Amen.
you know? And even if you have the same, diagnosis, your experience is going to be vastly different from somebody else's.
Hmm.
By so many different factors. And I think that's society wants to kind of label everything with as much of a blanket statement as they can. And people already have a view of disability that, I've used mobility aids, since birth. Basically, either whether it was wheelchair, walker, crutches, and braces. But so I, it's a different experience than someone who, spent a majority of their life non-disabled,
Right.
or what they thought was able-bodied. And society, we don't have the reinforcements in place to welcome people into the community. And I always say that with a grain of salt because yes, I am Italian, but when I say that, we're the only minority that anybody can join, I promise we don't have mafia connections waiting to make it so on that because it sounds like a threat, but it's just reality. Whether you age into it, whether you have something that's dormant, whether you are in an accident, and rather than being afraid of it, if we embraced it more, and I know that sounds hokey, but it's true, and didn't look at us like we're either faking um, or inspirational, right? Those are like the two ends of the spectrum that we get. We're either the villains or, the angels who can do no wrong on a pedestal, but also they're not expected to do anything with their life,
And I
right?
think that that
Except,
comes from something. It's funny you're mentioning that. I think a lot about these things, and I don't usually have a platform to just say them on, and I'm just like totally stealing your spotlight. But
no, do
if we
it.
really think about it this way, the conversation always gears towards this like inspiration and faking platform, right? Which is true. Those are the two big ends of the spectrum. But the reality is, when you think about why, what is the core reason that we're having this response from society? And the uncomfortable answer is because people would prefer your story to be either inspirational or faking because they don't want it to be something that can happen to them. People
Right,
refuse to think that they have mortality. And if we, as a society, collectively started treating it as if we are not disabled, but those who are able bodied are temporarily able bodied, because disability, if you're lucky enough, is inevitable, then that would solve so many of our problems. Like, we have this idea and mindset of, you have to, oh gosh, work hard, get a job, have a family, get married, and then, retire and die happy. But it's not a linear experience to live on this earth. And before we had social media, even, that was not the majority of people's truth, and it's frustrating because people who are in the majority living in this world of the struggle, if you will, whatever you want to call it, thinking that they're alone when now we know that was the majority of the population. It's extremely infuriating to think that, I mean, this could be just taken care of, right? Like ramps help people with strollers, ramps help people with dollies, lifts help people get heavier things up, elevators. I mean, we can keep going and on and on and on and on. But like screen readers and captions and all of these things that people just use in their day to day life is like this silly doodad or, oh, wow, look at this technology. Those things were created for disabled people.
Mm-hmm. Let's take them
Why
all
are we
away
not
and see how you function.
magic, right? Like if we all just had accessible homes, and whenever you became elderly, maybe you wouldn't have to put down a second mortgage to fix your home so that you can live.
I know Shawn needs to wrap this up because he's, he's got
We don't
places to
talk
go and
for hours.
people to see. Um, what is what is the word that you want to get out to the world about this experience? What do you want to, if you could suddenly get on and everybody was listening, what is the message you want to get across?
I think that it's a tough thing to say, like, okay, what's this one thing? Because I have two. One's for people who are able-bodied, and one's for those who are already disabled and identify that way. Those who are disabled, don't be afraid to speak your voice. Don't be afraid to speak your truth. If you're in the in-between phase of not knowing whether you're disabled or not, just live in your truth, live in whatever that means, and stop caring what everyone thinks. Because I promise you, when you're walking down the street and you're in a crowded area, all of those people you're worried about judging you are worried about you judging them. So get out of your head, stop feeling like people are watching you, and if people are actively judging you, find new people, because this world is just not worth spending your time on this earth worried about what other people can think. I mean, it's excruciating to think about. And for those who are, claim that, you're able-bodied or you feel as if you fit in that category, be curious and respectful at the same time. They have to be, this duality combo, because if you're not respectful while you're curious, we're not going to want to give you the time of day, baby. But if you're not curious while respectful, then you're going to put us in a category in the able-bodied view, and that's also not going to work. So just, open up the conversation while being kind and curious, and I promise you that that will open up an entirely different world for you, your future, and society as a whole.
I have to go because that was a great
Yeah, you do.
thing to just wrap up on that. But I would just echo very similar sentiments. Knowing the kindness part, I think, really, really crucial, and the curious. I really like that you said that. So many times you see, little kids who they would want to know why you have like a sparkly thing on your head, right? Like they would want to know why someone's wearing a bright shirt. The fact that they're pointing out our disability doesn't, it's not something that should be shameful and not talked about. The more you talk about it, the more normalized it becomes and the more part of society we we are. And by shushing and saying, "Oh, we don't talk about that," you've immediately created this very negative memory with your child that they're gonna, hold on to, subconsciously for the rest of their lives until they're told otherwise. So, continuing that education out there, in however you live your life is so crucial. But also don't be afraid if you are shut down by somebody. I can tell you it's really exhausting being a teachable moment all the time. And sometimes we may not want to answer the question that we've answered a gazillion times. And that's nothing on you. It really, isn't. And if someone, you know, grant people the grace to be human and to, revel in that humanness and having, but don't let it dampen your curiosity and your ability and passion for making new friends and expanding your worldview. I promise you'll be richer for it. And yeah.
And
Which
if
is
you
the
want to hire
perfect.
Miss Wheelchair California 2025 to come speak to your kids so you don't have to do it, we can make that happen.
Yeah,
All right,
also
how do they get a hold of you, Allie? How do they
I
get
am
a hold
on
of you?
Instagram under Allie Corbin. I'm also on Instagram as Miss Wheelchair California 2025. Those are probably the easiest contact matters, but also I'm sure we can leave it down in the comments, my email for bookings and things like that. But yeah, so that's how you can get a hold of me.
All right, I get the last word because I do. My message to the world is I have very rarely regretted something that I've done, but I have regretted many things I did not do. So grab your moments of joy out there, hold them tight because there will be times that you need them to relive them, and try everything. That's my message to the world.
Amen, girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's how I ended up with you crazy people.
No kidding.
Hey, and I
Stuck with
would
me
never
now.
never.
Shawn, if you'll put up our sponsors, I'll give them one more plug and then we can go over to Tom. Okay, if you haven't heard of mobility professionals and urology professionals, you were not listening. They are wonderful people, many of them with disabilities themselves. Call and they can help you with any of your DME and personal conditions that anything you need, call them up. I guarantee you'll be glad you did. And they sponsor Live to Roll every one of our shows, and we are so grateful. Well, thank you, ladies. And if I read the notes right, Tom Conway is going to do a quick cooking stream, cooking and life skills. All right. This has been great. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Julie. This was fun.
Bye.